The man had just taken his ex-girlfriend hostage. The negotiator tried to communicate with him, but he directly threw the phone out. This indicated that the man had no intention of negotiating with them. The police immediately sent in the SWAT team to infiltrate the building and fired a tear gas grenade into the room where the man was. However, the smoke from the window showed they had mistakenly fired a smoke grenade. If the man tried to cover it with a towel, it could potentially cause a fire. Firefighters needed to prepare the water cannon in advance. They planned to connect the water tanker to a fire hydrant, but the hydrant was blocked by a police car. Herman asked the officer to move the car, but the officer refused. "Yeah, that sounds like your problem, not mine." As the fire grew stronger, Herman had no choice but to move the police car himself. He signaled the fire truck to move in, but this action enraged the officer, who accused Herman of assaulting a police officer. The firefighters didn't argue with him. Instead, they quickly connected the hoses. At that moment, gunshots were heard from the building. The SWAT team inside had exchanged fire with the man. The woman took the opportunity to escape and reach the window, crying for help. The firefighters immediately brought a ladder to rescue her, but as soon as they got below, the man spotted them. The chief ordered them to retreat quickly. Luckily, they reacted in time and were not shot by the man. However, their actions had already angered him. They needed another plan. Kelly suggested they could rappel down from the roof for the rescue. They rushed to the rooftop and secured the ropes. Meanwhile, the SWAT team began their assault. Seeing the man move away from the window, the firefighter lowered down immediately. Everyone held their breath. If discovered by the man, their lives would be at risk. Soon, they reached the window. Taking advantage of the man's absence, they quickly pulled the woman out and climbed back up. But halfway through, the man realized the woman was gone. Tension peaked among everyone. Due to the smoke, the sniper couldn't aim at the target. The firefighters climbed faster. At this moment, the man was frantically searching. He suddenly looked up and spotted them. In a critical moment, Herman adjusted the water cannon below. The SWAT team received the order to move in quickly and subdued the man in no time. It must be said, the water cannon really came in handy at the crucial moment just now. The firefighters arrived at the scene of a car accident and found a car over an embankment. A man was trapped underneath the trailer that the car was towing. He looked seriously injured. A woman shouted for them to save her husband. She also said that her daughter, Elena, was still trapped inside the car. The firefighters immediately took action. Mills wrapped a sling around the frame. Tony got the winch cable ready. Cruz started cutting the frame with a saw. Then they lifted the trailer. The man was finally rescued. They quickly transported him to the hospital. Meanwhile, Kelly and another firefighter were attached to the cable and climbed down the hill to rescue Elena. They turned off the car engine first. Then Kelly calmed the frightened Elena. Elena slowly crawled out of the car. The firefighters, coordination, brought her safely back up. The man named Joe was building a miniature Titanic. His neighbor Don saw it and angrily rushed over. He immediately ordered Joe to stop. Don thought Joe had crossed the line. He told Joe to stay away from his yard. Joe believed he hadn't crossed any boundaries. He thought Don was being too petty. Don, still furious, charged at him again. Joe had no choice but to explain. He said the Bon Voyage 5's play set was for the kids. He even offered to let Don's grandson play too. But Don said his grandson was already in college. Just as he finished speaking, something seemed to fall from above. Joe shouted for him to run. Don turned too quickly and hit a wooden beam. The next moment, a military Humvee crashed down. The mini Titanic was smashed to pieces on the spot. The fire department was alerted and quickly arrived. Don was trapped underneath, badly injured. But ironically, the Titanic had saved his life. His legs were pinned down, and the firefighters explained to Don it was a military training airdrop gone wrong. Help would arrive soon to remove the vehicle, but they couldn't wait any longer. Don had severe fractures. He was losing too much blood. They had to get him out immediately for treatment. The captain decided to use airbags to lift the base. Buck said, "For this angle, it's going to be hard to get full contact." Then Eddie suggested, "We can get him out the way he came in." They brought in the fire truck, raised the ladder, then tied the parachute to a rope and attached it to the winch. Once everything was set, the machine was activated. Don thanked his neighbor Joe, saying the mini Titanic had saved his life. Joe told him not to worry and promised to build another one. Firefighters arrived at a bowling alley, and an employee explained that a man named Jerry had been working on maintenance. He had gotten stuck in the pin setter. All they could see hanging down was Jerry's bloody arm. Cruz and Cap headed to the back to start taking apart the machine, while Kelly lay down under the pin setter to talk to Jerry. He asked Jerry how he had gotten in there. Jerry said the pin arm was jammed and stuck. Paramedic Mills told them to hurry because Jerry was going into shock and didn't have a pulse in his arm. Kelly started cutting the shaft that was trapping Jerry, but Jerry screamed in pain. Eventually, Kelly cut Jerry free, and they pulled him out of the pin setter and rushed him away in the ambulance. While they were picking up their stuff, Otis slipped on the waxed floor and couldn't get up. "What? This guy's never gone bowling before." The new fire chief laughed hysterically at him and made fun of him, which didn't go over well with the other firefighters. The high-voltage power line suddenly snapped. It fell to the ground and started whipping around wildly. Seeing this, the firefighter grabbed a poker to try and pin it down. "Hey, wait, just moments ago, a truck had lost control and crashed into the utility pole. The broken power line was flailing on top of the truck. The injured driver had fallen unconscious." The firefighters immediately sprang into action. Their first priority was to secure the whipping power line. 2 firefighters wrapped a rope around the cable. Then they secured it to a fence by the roadside. Once safety was ensured, Kelly was working to pry the door open when the transformer caught fire and exploded. Countless fireballs rained down on them. The firefighters quickly grabbed extinguishers and started putting out the flames. Just then, one of the overhead power lines suddenly came loose. It fell right beside firefighter Sarah. She panicked slightly. She called for help, but no one could hear her. She tried to use a poker to secure the line, but as Mouch shouted for her to wait, the power line jumped and struck her in the chest. Mouch screamed that they had a firefighter down and rushed to help her. Then, they managed to control the whipping power line. After being examined by the paramedic, Sarah's pupils were equal, but she was concussed. Firefighting is truly a dangerous profession. There was a car accident right here. A man was thrown directly out of the car. He told the firefighters that his son was still trapped in the car. The firefighters quickly grabbed fire extinguishers to put out the flames on the car. Through the car window, they indeed found a boy inside. Fortunately, he was still alive. The firefighters immediately began the rescue operation. They climbed onto the top and used a crowbar to pry open the car door, then successfully entered the car. However, Kelly discovered that the boy's thigh was pierced by a piece of metal. Cutting it directly could put the boy at great risk. In the end, they decided to transport him to the hospital along with the car seat. The man was also placed on a stretcher. On-site diagnosis suggested that he might have a skull fracture, requiring immediate hospital treatment. Under the guidance of a doctor, they covered the boy's face with cloth and used a saw to cut the metal successfully. Before long, the boy's mother rushed to the hospital. When she learned that it was the boy's father who had flipped the car, she felt something was wrong and wanted to call the police immediately. "I think my husband crashed that car on purpose. I think he tried to kill our son." Soon, the police arrived to take statements. It turned out that the couple was in the process of getting a divorce. They had already gone to court over the custody of the child. According to the firefighters, the man indeed was not wearing a seat belt at the time, and the road was very empty. Logically, there was no reason to swerve so suddenly. Hearing this, she felt very sad. A few days later, the firefighters brought a toy to visit the boy, but they found that the boy's father was sitting next to him. As they hesitated about whether to approach, the boy's father saw them. He happily came out to thank them for saving his son. When asked about the events of the accident, the man said that a deer had suddenly jumped in front of the car, so he swerved sharply, which caused the accident. Kelly expressed his doubts upon hearing this, as deer were rarely seen in the city. With skepticism, they went to the accident site, hoping to find deer footprints on the ground. But after searching for a long time, they found nothing. Just as the two were about to give up, Kelly suddenly found a deer carcass in a pile of grass. This was even stronger evidence than footprints. He quickly found the boy's mother and told her about the discovery. Upon learning the truth, she let out a long sigh of relief. She questioned herself about why she had such a foolish thought. Fortunately, everything was finally brought to light. After this incident, the family finally resolved their conflicts and reunited. Seeing this, Kelly felt deeply comforted.